Under the soft morning light of the East African sky, golden rays danced through a light mist, brushing the savannah in a gentle glow. The wind carried the scent of wild grass and distant herds, painting a peaceful scene across the Masai Mara. But on this day, something extraordinary was about to happen. At a wildlife sanctuary near the Kenya-Tanzania border, a quiet, unofficial visit was taking place, one that very few people even knew about. Pope Benedictus, spiritual leader to millions, had come not for ceremony or speeches, but for something deeply personal. He was returning to see an old friend, a lion named Leo. 7 years earlier, during a visit to African wildlife rescue centers, the Pope had come across a lion cub, barely clinging to life. The cub had been caught in a poacher's snare, its body torn and broken. Where others saw a dying animal, the Pope saw something more. He insisted the cub be taken in for treatment. Every day after that, he would visit the young lion. Sometimes he'd pray beside the enclosure. Sometimes he'd simply sit in silence. What was strange was how the lion, despite its pain, would always come close to him, pressing its head softly against the fence. It was as if something passed between them. A silent bond. That cub grew into a mighty lion, and unlike others, it never wanted to leave the sanctuary or return to the wild. The staff often joked, "He only listens to the Pope." Years later, on this special day, the sanctuary opened its gates to a group of children from a care facility in Nairobi. These were children with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Among them was an 8-year-old girl named Amara. She had severe autism. She rarely spoke, and she had a habit of wandering off quietly when no one was watching. Amara loved animals, especially big ones. While the group toured the sanctuary, Amara quietly slipped away, drawn towards something no one else noticed. Moments later, a scream rang out. "There's a child in the lion enclosure!" Panic broke out. Staff rushed to the scene. Guards raised tranquilizer guns. Visitors froze in shock. And there, in the middle of the lion's domain, sat Amara. She was just a few feet away from Leo. The giant lion stood still, not growling, not moving, just watching her. His amber eyes were locked onto the small, silent girl. Everything felt frozen in time. Then a calm, firm voice spoke. "Wait." It was the Pope. Before anyone could stop him, Pope Benedictus stepped forward, alone, into the lion's enclosure. The air went silent. Even the birds seemed to pause their song. His white cassock fluttered slightly in the breeze, creating an almost unreal image as he walked toward the lion and the girl. The Pope's gaze met Leo's, and something changed. In the lion's eyes, a flicker of recognition sparked, like remembering a dream from long ago. Slowly, unbelievably, Leo rose onto his hind legs, his enormous body stretched upward, not in aggression, but in reverence. Then, with a gentleness no one thought possible, Leo reached forward and embraced the child. He cradled Amara in his powerful front legs, holding her like she was the most delicate thing in the world. Amara didn't scream, didn't cry. In fact, she rested her head against Leo's mane as if she'd known him forever. In her quiet world, she felt no fear, just warmth. A collective gasp swept through the onlookers. Tears welled up in the eyes of the staff. Some dropped to their knees, unable to understand what they were witnessing. Then, the lion turned. Still carrying Amara, Leo began to walk, slowly, deliberately, toward the Pope. It was like watching something sacred, like a moment outside of time. When he reached the Holy Father, Leo gently lowered Amara to the ground and bowed his massive head, as if offering her back to someone he trusted completely. The Pope knelt down, tears in his eyes, and embraced the child. No one spoke. No one moved. For a few moments, the only sounds were the wind and the heartbeat of something bigger than all of us. Love, perhaps, or faith. The story spread across the world like wildfire. News anchors called it a miracle. Scientists called it impossible. But to those who were there, it didn't need a name. It was just real. And sometimes, that's more powerful than anything else. In the years that followed, the story of Amara and Leo continued to echo across the world. Documentaries were made. Books were written. Artists painted scenes of the great lion standing tall, holding a fragile girl as if she were royalty. Schools used the story as a lesson in empathy. Places of worship of all faiths spoke of it as a sign, some calling it divine intervention, others calling it nature's greatest miracle. But for Amara, it was not just a story. It was the beginning of a transformation. Her therapist documented steady improvements. She became more expressive, more engaged. There were even rare but clear moments of joy, especially when shown pictures or videos of lions. A stuffed lion toy, gifted to her just weeks after the event, became her constant companion. She slept with it every night. And while her journey was far from over, the spark lit by Leo had become a guiding light for her progress. The sanctuary itself became a symbol of hope. People came from far and wide, not just to see the animals, but to stand in the place where something sacred had happened. Near Leo's favorite resting tree, visitors left letters, children's drawings, and small wooden carvings of lions and angels. And Leo, he lived out his days in quiet peace, wandering the sanctuary freely. He never showed aggression, never tried to escape. He simply stayed, often watching the horizon as if waiting for someone. Staff members would sometimes find him lying beneath the same tree, eyes half closed, but always alert, as if guarding something invisible, something only he could sense. One morning, years later, Leo passed away quietly under that same tree. He was not alone. A staff member, who had cared for him for nearly a decade, sat by his side. The sky that day was painted in hues of golden rose, just like it had been when Amara first entered his life. And when the news was announced, the world paused once more. Tributes poured in. Candles were lit in churches, mosques, temples, and homes. People wrote songs. Children released drawings into the wind. And Amara, now a young teenager, visited the sanctuary one more time. She stood silently before Leo's tree. Her hand, now steadier than before, reached out and touched the small memorial stone placed beneath it. A soft breeze lifted her hair. She smiled, not a full, wide smile, just a soft one. But it held all the weight of a life changed forever. She didn't speak, she didn't need to. Her eyes said everything, and as she turned to walk away, the words carved on the stone caught the sunlight one last time. Here, a lion learned to love and taught the world to believe again. The story of Amara and Leo reminds us that miracles aren't always loud or filled with fanfare. Sometimes they come softly, in the form of a child's touch, a lion's gentle gaze, or a silent moment shared between two souls. What happened that day in the Masai Mara wasn't just an encounter between a girl and a lion. It was a message to all of us that love, compassion, and understanding have the power to cross every barrier, even the ones we think are impossible. So now we ask you, do you believe love can tame even the wildest heart? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. We read every one of them. If this story moved you, please like, share, and subscribe. We've got more real-life miracles and heart-touching moments coming your way. Thank you for watching. Until next time, stay kind and believe in the power of connection.